everyone, and lovely to have you back listening to the Right Mortgage Network's Lending Insights podcast. You are here with me, your host for today's Insight, Victoria Clark, Head of Lending at the Network. We are back with you for the start of the fourth quarter of the year already, can you believe? After all of the summer holidays, I'm ready to dive into an exciting next few months. Today on the podcast, we are joined by Steve Hewitt, National Account Manager for Aldermore. Steve, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Right Mortgage Network's Lending Podcast.
Thank you, Victoria. Absolute pleasure to be here and proud to be with you to record the podcast today.
Lovely, thank you. So, what a successful year already 2025 has been. Lending is up than it was predicted for the industry so far, and the rest of the year is looking really promising with all of the mortgage maturities we are going to be seeing coming to fruition in the next few months. So, Steve, let's dive into all things Aldermore and your take on the year so far. Where are you sitting within the current market as a specialist lender, and what is the outlook from your perspective?
I think there's two elements to this, Victoria, in terms of, I think the market element has been a challenging year so far, I think, but a very buoyant one at the same time. We saw earlier on this year in terms of all that sort of rush around the stamp duty from first-time buyers, and it performed quite strongly in H1, but we expected that to sort of soften, and obviously with us looking now into the sort of remortgaging piece as well, coming towards the end of the year, as you rightly point out, and the number of cases coming off for renewals is going to be one of the largest that we've seen for some time. So it's very much key in that sort of area to make sure brokers are taking advantage of that. We're also seeing actually 2-year fixes remain most popular, but 5 years tend to be taking a bit more of the share of the market these days as well. And we do know that obviously from a first-time buyer perspective, that affordability still remains one of the biggest challenges along with the deposits. And it's kind of very much price sensitive as well in the market today. Arrears, generally, most of those people on arrears are falling behind are the ones that are already in arrears, but we're seeing a lesser people, new people coming into that arrears piece as well. But we're also looking at the unemployed side of this thing from our economist side, is saying that potentially it's going to pick up and probably expect to peak in probably Q1, Q2, 26. And I think, well, how does that all sort of play into what we're doing as a lender and how can we sort of help and support? And there's a number of things that we're looking to do on that as well. Making sure that we're sort of focused on those areas that we tend to support, which means that we've got our sort of 4 pillars, which is all around our residential proposition and buy-to-let proposition. So for resi, it's all around the higher loan to value, which helps the sort of first-time buyer, low deposit customers. You've then got your adverse, which means that people with less than perfect credit. We've then got your self-employed clients who are struggling with generally high street lenders looking to get through that credit scoring system and understanding their income. And then there's a buy-to-let. I think we know what's coming down the track in terms of buy-to-let, but it's helping those landlords expand on their portfolios and help them increase the yields and the profitability. So there's a number of things in there that we're looking to try and do from a specialist lender perspective to really support those customers and brokers help their clients.
Yeah, and obviously you've sort of just touched on that then, but we love to highlight all the positives as usual here on the Insights podcast and all the opportunities that advisors can make the most of. But we also love to be able to help our listeners know how to solve their potential obstacles. So I know you just mentioned the different pillars that you have at Aldermore, but like with these types of customers you're seeing, what is the type of help you guys have available?
I think what we try and do is make sure that we're looking at specific products to help fit into that particular market segment. So when you're looking at a sort of first time buyer, typically, if you've got generally average age now is 35 years for a first time buyer. And that's going to sort of take them further on into that sort of 35, maybe even a 40-year term, which takes them generally into retirement, if that's the case. But you've got to make sure that what we're doing is helping them with the affordability piece. And obviously the recent changes under legislation and regulation have really helped lenders like Aldermore tune their affordability to make it more affordable now, given the challenges that they face on that affordability calculator, to help them afford that particular type of property. So it's really made a difference with those sort of changes that have come in. For landlords, I think making sure that we've got the ability to help them with the affordability again, because when you're looking at a landlord and the ICR coverage, is we do have what we call our multi-property, which combines the ICR and also the loan to value. So again, it helps them get more from the remortgaging or help them get more from the existing or purchase that they're doing currently. So yes, there are challenges out there, and there are obstacles in the way, but we're seeing more and more lenders come to the fray now, making sure that we've got the ability to be able to help them in those circumstances and also help their customers alike.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we spoke about previously with people just aren't vanilla as much anymore, are they? So like you've got to do more to be able to help these customers. And I think for advisors, it's not obstacles, it's just really getting to be an advisor and help them the most they possibly can, because the niche market is a growing one. So with these opportunities for advisors, it's more people to be able to help. But where do you see the opportunities for the advisors on that?
I think if you're looking at sort of first-time buyer or self-employed, the opportunities really is we've just looked at an opportunity which we call our concessionary purchase, which effectively means that a tenant could actually borrow up to 100% of the purchase price of that particular property. Given that landlords are looking to sell off some of their property, they may well like to gift the equity. So, for an example, if they're selling a property at 200,000 and they want to gift £20,000 to their tenant as a deposit, and the purchase price then becomes 180,000, we as a lender, as Aldermore, would actually lend to 180,000 pounds, so the customer wouldn't need to necessarily find a deposit, which is obviously making home purchase more affordable to them, and it also
That's a
helps
real
on the.
niche, isn't it? That sort of product offering. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is, and I think we also see it from a family concessionary purchase perspective as well. So it works in both ways, for both tenant, landlord, and also family and sibling buying property from family. So for that, we've seen a good increase in that over the last couple of months since we went live with that. That's made a big difference to a number of people. We are seeing landlords selling property off. It doesn't mean they're exiting the market. They're just having a little bit of a change around in terms of their portfolio and restructuring their portfolio to make it more profitable. So they may sell off one of their properties that's not generating a lot of yield, and the tenant's been there for some time in that particular property. And like you do, if you buy a house, you tend to make it your own. You might do things to it. You might not want to move out. And you think, well, actually, I like living here. I'd like to buy it. And the tenant, the landlord's saying to the tenant, well, actually, I've had this property for some time. I'll give to you X amount of pounds towards a deposit, and then get a lender to remortgage or purchase the rest of the mortgage.
Yeah, and that's just really nice, isn't it, to be able to help people in that. And I think like this massive circle that everybody talks about with renters not being able to get out renting because they can't save, it just gives them that bit of a stepping stone, doesn't it, to be able to really help them in those situations. So really love to be able to hear that. And like all of this, where we're saying about mortgage maturities coming up, but there's all these new customers who could be able to help with those sorts of things that you're talking about. But with Aldermore then, so all the lenders, obviously lenders are probably doing what they can as well to be supporting brokers and navigating the market conditions and its opportunities. But what Aldermore really striving for the rest of this year to strengthen, to help the advisors?
I think there's a number of things within that as well, because I think, like all lenders out there, not just Aldermore, I think that the biggest thing we're all facing into at the moment is a couple of things. One is digital transformation, and also AI service, and making it sure that we've got sustainable growth going forward. And I think when we look at that from an AI perspective, that's a big thing that's coming down the track. And I think it's probably something which is not misunderstood, but I think we need to understand more about it. Digital transformation, we're seeing all the time at the moment, aren't we? And I know yourselves at the Right Mortgage Network have gone through all this change as well in terms of the platforms. Lenders are looking at this now. Aldermore is no different to anyone else out there, and looking to try and make sure that the platforms are fit for purpose going into the future. So lenders are trying to adapt, change, not just the digital side of it or the processing side of it, but also products. We're starting to see a different type of customer coming in, and we're seeing more and more people actually take second jobs as well. So using a second income, which again helps affordability. A lot of people are becoming now self-employed. The self-employed numbers are up, and the ability to use retained profit and net profit after tax in addition to their salary makes a big difference from just using a dividends calculation. So it can. There's various little things that lenders are starting to do to tweak their product offering, their criteria offering. What's the sort of, where's the risk profile that we need to get to? And I think from a lender's perspective, like Aldermore, it's identifying those opportunities. And we're always talking to brokers, especially at the Right Mortgage Network, to ask them, say, look, this is what we've got at the moment. Well, how could we improve that? A number of things like the concessionary purchase. Contractors was actually another one that we approached a number of brokers on to say, look, help us develop this type of product. What does it need in the market today? What are the challenges? What are the obstacles? But how can we overcome them from a lender perspective? And how can we create those criteria and policy to make that fit to today's market? The landscape's changing, as you know, Victoria, isn't it? Let's be fair. A lot's changed over the last even 4 years since we came out of the pandemic period. So lots of moving parts, but a lot of change and a lot of chance to look at digital transformation, especially the AI piece as well.
There are so many moving parts, isn't there? I feel like it's just constantly, there's something new going on all the time. And like you were talking about there, if advisors don't reach out and say, well, I'm in this situation more, like it's come up quite a lot now, and sharing that then with yourselves, other lenders, it helps everybody grow and move with all these things as it comes about. We can't, like, you can do your best to be able to stay on top of it, but to have the help from the advisors too on the feedback. And if that's what you've already been doing, that's so positive as well.
Yeah, I think it is, and there's a lot of lenders out there now. We know there's a lot of members, lenders on your panel. Hopefully, within there somewhere, it's a good job we all do something a little different. Whilst we all do similar things, it's good that we've all got something slightly different that's quite niche, and they have an ability to actually go out and support all of those brokers, which gives them a place, a home, should we say, for every single client that they've got out there.
And that's why it's always worth reaching out, isn't it? If you've got a customer, because specialist lenders like yourself, it's worth having a conversation around it, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think what we always encourage brokers, if when the BDMs go out, whether that's a webinar, whether that's a Teams meeting, whether that's a face-to-face meeting, they're not just there to talk about criteria. They're actually talking to them about how can we support you grow your business. That's what it's all about. And we're seeing more and more brokers actually ask now for that educational piece and asking questions saying, well, what can you do to help and support me? What can you do when you come in to see me? What different can you make and help? Because I think from a broker's perspective, to be fair, they're all busy. We're all busy, let's be honest. I mean, busy is probably not the right word, but I suppose you got to take the blinkers off every now and again, haven't you, and take a little bit of a wider vision in terms of what's going on. But they're always going in there saying, well, how can we help you? What can we do to support you? And that makes to a lot of brokers that the relationship, but also makes us help them understand what is it we can do to support them with new product opportunities.
Definitely, and I know you guys do a lot around fraud, so it's even looking at stuff like that, isn't it, as extra support and value that you can bring.
Yeah, it very much so. The other side of it is actually we do a lot with our chief economist, and when we've had team meetings in our offices and various other things that we go out, our economist has come in and given an overview of the market. And whilst it may send some people to sleep sometimes, the reality is actually it's good to understand what's going on in the bigger picture and what's happening in the overall economy and the market itself. We've actually brought in our surveying teams as well to have a conversation around that sort of myth around, demystifying undervaluations, down valuations, what an AVM is, what a desktop is, all those sort of things. So sort of demystifying that and sort of pointing out where are the key challenges that actually surveyors face when they're going out to value a property and how can brokers help and support that. The other one is around solicitors. We've also got webinars and podcasts around the solicitor piece as well. Again, sort of trying to highlight and work with the broker rather than sort of work against. And we do a lot with what we call our Get More with Aldermore series. I think you've seen some of those, Victoria, anyway. But they're very useful to understand, really sort of focused in on topics in the market. Not Aldermore focused, but market focused. And again, from an educational perspective, they're going down really well with our broker community.
It's just being so much more, isn't it? I think, like you say, having that moment to give yourself 20 minutes, 45 minutes to open yourself up to this sort of learning just helps you grow even more as an advisor, doesn't it, in such a changing market? So really, really great to hear that those are the sorts of things you're bringing to the table for advisors. And we really love it and appreciate it for that you're doing that for them. And thank you so much for all of this insight, Steve. It's been so great to go through all of these ahead of the next few months as well for our listeners, so they can get to know where, if you do maybe have a slightly tricky situation or you think like it's not as straightforward, it's just so worth like picking up the phone and chatting it through and just seeing where Aldermore and other specialist lenders can be able to help with this. But to finish us off, what is your advice then for advisors looking to do their best in the concluding months of 2025? Please share with us.
I think there's a few things, isn't there? And one of them is that we know we're facing into, like I say, the biggest end of term mortgages coming off at the end of their period. I think it's really key now to make sure that you're on top of that. make sure you get full advantage, whether that's a remortgage, whether that's a product transfer with the current lender. That's one element I think that the brokers should be focused in on. It's been quite low this year up to now, but we're facing into that final quarter where they're going to start to peak. The second one is what we've really spoken about already, really, is that education piece. We're being asked more and more and more to come in, speak, talk about various topics in the market. And if you've got an opportunity, if you're a bigger broker or an individual, it doesn't matter, get us into your offices or get us onto a webinar or even join one of our Get More with Aldermores to really sort of help and understand what's going on in the market in those key areas, like I say, of the economy, surveying, solicitors. We've also got one coming up very shortly with the NRLA around the renters' rights bill that's likely to come very, very shortly. I think it's due out in October. The final draft of that, I think, will be done and it'll probably go live. So that's another area that we're looking at and concentrating on to really help and support brokers around their landlords. And finally, I think don't be afraid to pick up the phone and, or even to yourselves really, and say, look, we're really struggling with this type of client. If we don't know about it, we can't help. And I think talking is good and making sure that we've got that sort of conversation between us as lenders, you as a mortgage network, and the broker is understanding where are the challenges, where are the opportunities, and how can we support. And I think those are the biggest things that we can really sort of work on trilaterally together and see what we can do to achieve, again, make it a strong end to the year and even into 2026.
No, that all sounds so good, and it's so lovely to hear all the support that there is there. And like you say, from both ways for advisors, you've got the network, you've got lovely lenders like yourselves. Like, it's just reaching out and seeing where you can all grow together and do the best that you can for the customers. But it's been lovely to have you on the podcast with us today. That's all we've got time for. So thank you very much, Steve, as well. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Pleasure to be here.
And as usual, massive thank you to all of our listeners. Please keep following along for more insights on the podcast series. If you have a particular subject you want to hear about, please let us know. We love to hear from you too about ways that we can give you more information to be able to help with the different insights that we have available at the network, and hearing from different lenders like we have done today with Steve at Aldermore. But I have been your host for today, Victoria Clark. So thank you very much for listening to myself and Steve, and see you next time.